正解。
Rebirth of the Malicious Empress of Military Lineage. Chapter 103, Female Charms. The scandal at the Shen family banquet did not spread out in the end. The spreading out was referring to the public, but as for the aristocratic circles, they had always been inextricably linked, thus a Furen would use it as a joke and tell another Furen, and in private, it had been spread out. Moreover, old Shen Furen's clever words had now sent herself to the road of ruin. If she did not do as she had said, it would be as if she was slapping her own face, but if she were to do as she said, how could she be easily reconciled with the loss of her most outstanding grandson? But because of this matter, the eldest household and old Shen Furen were completely at a deadlock. Originally it was just estrangement from the second and third households, but because of old Shen Furen's attitude in the banquet, Lu Zuyan and Xin Xin feel as if there was a fishbone stuck at their throats. They were not people who would grin and swallow it, so they just folded their arms and watched a good show. After Shen Yuan and Jing Chuchu woke up, naturally Jing Chuchu cried and only said that she was pulled in by Shen Yuan. Shen Yuan was furious and said that he did not know what was going on when he fainted, and when he woke up, he was already lying together with Jing Chuchu. He could not remember these matters, and it was possible that Jing Chuchu was still perfectly intact. It was no longer important if Jing Chuchu was perfectly intact, since so many noble Furens had seen such a fragrant scene. Jing Chuchu's next half of her life was over. Perhaps it was this matter that provoked them, or it could be due to other reasons. But the Jing siblings were no longer gentle and warm like previously, and were instead aggressive, insisting that Shen Yuan take responsibility. Moreover, old Shen Furen had previously said that if it was Shen Kaiyu, she would be able to be the Shen residence's eldest young Furen. So now that it was Shen Yuan, naturally Jing Chuchu should be the second young Furen of the Shen residence. Old Shen Furen's scheme was exquisite, so how could she let something like this happen? Shen Yuan was her most outstanding grandson, but now had to marry a young lady from a small family, so she immediately fished for an excuse to reject. Jing Guansheng looked scholarly, and he was very smart. Without saying a second word, he said that he was bringing Jing Chuchu to the authorities, and also wrote a letter back to Suzhou. Once the Suzhou side heard of all this, they were angry at old Shen Furen for not keeping to her words and started their journey to the Ding capital to argue. The original alliance was fractured, and old Shen Furen scolded loudly the two siblings all day as white-eyed wolves, and the Jing siblings also mocked old Shen Furen as old unrespectable one. Shen Yuan was also very angry, but even if the matter was blown up, one could not just kill Jing Chuchu, as there were so many Furens watching. Once something happened to Jing Chuchu, then everyone would be suspicious of him. Moreover, the Jing family was not easy to deal with. No matter how much trouble there was outside, the western courtyard stores of the Shen residence remained closed, and everyone were still joyous and harmonious. On that day Shen Kaiyu did not even drink any alcohol, but it was Shen Miao who made him act drunk. As for what happened next, Shen Kaiyu also did not know the reason why Shen Yuan was together with Jing Chuchu. Even though Shen Miao was unwilling to tell him and threatened him not to tell Xin Xin and wife, Shen Kaiyu could faintly guess it. Thus when he returned back to the residence, he refused to even step in Rong Jingtang. In the room, Shen Miao sat in front of the desk writing a recipe to the kitchens. It was no longer possible for Jing Chuchu to fawn the eldest household, thus Shen Miao no longer need to go to the practice field daily. But Shen Xin and the soldiers all looked forward to the soup that she made. Shen Miao was too lazy to personally boil it every day, so she wrote some recipe down for the kitchens. At the end she was praised daily, and those soldiers respected her more than Shen Kaiyu. Luo Zuyan had also asked before, when did Zhao Zhao learn so many recipes? Could it be that there is an interest in cooking? Shen Miao vaguely responded to this. She was not the kind of woman who was willing to personally boil soup, but in her previous life, in order to please many people, she allowed herself to learn recipes from the kitchens of noble families. But no matter how good she was, the person who received it would not be moved. But now it was different. Shen Miao shook her head. This was most likely treating a person well and was different from treating a beast well. Some people knew how to be grateful, but some people would only bite the hands that feeds. Beilu picked up the paper in which Shen Miao wrote to dry, and got up to send it over to the kitchens. Now that the western courtyard no longer eat with the eastern courtyard, a small kitchen was set up. This kind of actions obviously indicated that they did not trust the eastern courtyard. One heard that the young master quarreled with old Furin again today. Jings helped Shen Miao to clean up the paper and ink on the table and said, "It seems that the Jing family is on the way over, and old Furin see that the matter cannot be dragged on and got anxious." What can be said was already said. Shen Miao picked up the teacup to take a sip. Biao older brother is a smart person, and one cannot just let others take advantage for nothing. Biao young master is also really ruthless. Gu Yu also spoke. Now he would threaten to report to the authorities all day. One obviously know that second young master just returned back to the capital, so if one truly report to the authorities, second young master's prospects would end. This servant sees that this time second young master would need to marry a young lady, and this is all thanks to old Furin's solemn compliance to old master's family teachings. When she spoke to the end, her voice could not help but float high up, even though she had restrained the joy in her heart. Old Shen Furin's conduct made one nauseated, and now that she lifted a rock and smashed her own foot, how could it not make others happy? But Jings asked, what good is there for a young lady to rack her brains for schemes to marry to second young master? She had an acrimonious falling out with old Furin, and second young master will not be happy at all, so even if she marry into the residence, she will not be loved. Is not a young lady finding trouble for herself? Shen Miao smiled gently. Jing Chuchu does not want to marry a person but money. Since it is so, then what is the difference between like or love? In the previous life Jing Chuchu married Shen Kaiyu, and Shen Kaiyu treated her well, but at the end, she still harmed Shen Kaiyu to such a state. For Jing Chuchu's perspective, as long as she could climb higher, it would not matter who the partner was. Speaking of which, Guyu pursed her lips. A young lady wanted to harm eldest young master, but now she will marry in perfectly well. This truly made one feel unhappy. Since this matter originated from her, why do the evildoers not have bad endings? Shen Miao opened the window and looked out. Do you think that this is the end? Guyu's eyes brightened. Young lady still left a hand? After being with Shen Miao for a period of time, Guyu had more knowledge of Shen Miao's means and was no longer surprised by them. If it was in the past, she would be surprised of Shen Miao's viciousness and coolness, but after experiencing each and every single matter, one did not have any good feelings of the other two households in the Shen residence at all. All that pity and compassion had long flown away. It is just the beginning for them to be forced to suffer in silence. Shen Miao said, Jing Chuchu schemed against eldest brother first. Does she think that she could escape? Jing's and Guyu's eyes were looking dazzling at Shen Miao. Shen Miao waved her hands. Go and settle the money with Fu'er first. Old Shen Furin was recently busy dealing with the siblings Jing Chuchu and Jing Guanxing, and as for the reason why there was a change in the person during the banquet, she did not bother to investigate the truth. Sooner or later Fu'er will be married to the steward's single-eyed son, so it is better to give her more money and think of ideas to help her escape from the Shen residence. Guyu took the money over and smiled. This servant understands. Is it correct to send a portion of money to be a young lady's personal maid? Shen Miao nodded with satisfaction. Correct. It was the dog that one rare personally that would be the most painful when bitten by it. Just like the Zhao Lizi of her past lifetime. It was alright if she had experienced such a disadvantage, as she had learned such a lesson and can use it on others. 5 days later, Shen Yuan's and Jing Chuchu's engagement news had spread throughout the capital. Shen Yuan was the Shen residence's most outstanding young master, other than Shen Kaiyu, and just came back to the capital after learning through experience at other areas, and initially a good career prospect was waiting for him. There were no shortage of young ladies with good appearance and family backgrounds, thus if one were to seriously take a pick, It was not difficult to find a wife that would be able to help him, but at the end the chosen was a young lady from Suzhou whose family did not hold any government position, even though she was old Shen Furen's maiden family. If it was other families' matriarch, she would not let this kind of economically and culturally impoverished person be a young Furen of a noble family. Everyone in the Ding capital knew that there was something abnormal with that news. The why of Shen Yuan having to marry the Jing young lady as his wife had spread out privately. The reason was that he had slept with the Jing family's daughter when he was drunk. This Jing family was not easy to deal with, as they keep saying to report to the authorities. It was much better to marry a economically and culturally impoverished young lady than to lose one's official hat. So Shen Yuan was forced to take such a route. This matter was a joke that kept spreading in the circles of nobility, and for several days there were a number of colleagues who had looks of watching the show in their eyes when Shen Gui went to court, much less Shen Yuan. Their reputation naturally tumbled due to this matter, and for Jing Chuchu, it was completely unrelated to her. She sat in a room and tasted the snacks in boredom. After all pretenses of cordiality were dropped with old Shen Furen, the originally virtuous and graceful image that Jing Chuchu had was all gone, and her true nature was exposed. She grabbed onto Shen Yuan's weak spot and used the Shen residence's stuff, living a very cozy life. At her side, there only was her personal maid Tao Yuan, who was tidying up the room. Jing Chuchu did not trust anyone in the Shen residence and would hand over all matters to only Tao Yuan. Tao Yuan said, "Master and Furen will be seemingly arriving in these few days, and at that time young lady's marriage will be held lively. It would be very impressive when it is heard back on Suzhou." Jing Chuchu smiled. At least it did not waste my painstaking efforts. But Tao Yuan was somewhat worried. Now that Shen family's second master and old Furen treat young lady this badly, in the future when young lady marries over, what if they bully young lady? What is there to be scared of? Jing Chuchu opened a box of rouge and said, "I have long inquired. Second Biao young sister is dead, and second Biao Shen is currently crazy and unable to preside over all the situation. There is only a Yi Niang in the second household, and a Yi Niang cannot intervene in matters concerning the Dison's household. As for Biao older brother, he would not always stay in the residence. At that time I would be alone in the second household courtyard and can do anything one want and be very free. Comparing to marrying into the first household, one would be much more comfortable." Be that as it may, Tao Yuan shook her head. If in the future second young master marry some concubine back to stifle young lady, then this would depend on you. Jing Chuchu looked at Tao Yuan and said like she was giving alms, "These years you have followed by my side, and seeing your faithfulness and good looks, if there is such a day, I will let Biao's second brother to take you in, and you can win him over on my behalf. It would be considered as a return to your loyalty." She smiled. Tao Yuan lowered her head and quickly said, This servant will listen to young lady's words." Jing Chuchu closed the rouge box and her eyes landed on the bracelet that was on the dressing table. She could not help but pick it up and look at it in a daze. When Tao Yuan saw it, she said in surprise, "Is that not the bracelet that gentleman's son gave to young lady?" "Gentleman's son?" Jing Chuchu murmured as her expression became erratic. "Speaking of which, gentleman's son really treated young lady very well." Tao Yuan smiled. "Do not know if he would be very sad upon hearing of young lady's engagement news." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Jing Chuchu's brows were standing up as she interrupted Tao Yuan's words. Tao Yuan said unconvincing, "This servant did not say incorrectly. Even though gentleman's son and young lady did not meet up much, but were familiar at first sight, and he even had the thought to send things to young lady. It can be seen that he really placed young lady in his heart. If there was no second young master's matter, then gentleman's son would definitely think for ways to take young lady as his wife." Jing Chuchu was surprised for a moment, and some traces of blushing appeared on her face as she shook her head. "How would a minister of personnel's residence take a culturally impoverished person like me as a wife?" "But gentleman's son truly love young lady." Tao Yuan's words were somewhat a gaffe, but even though she said that, Jing Chuchu not only did not get angry, she seemed to be a little joyful. Tao Yuan still continued, "If Gentleman's son becomes the son-in-law of the Jing family it would be good." Comparing Gentleman's son and second young master, Gentleman's son loves young lady like precious jewels. If young lady married over, Gentleman's son would put young lady in his palm. "Do not speak any more." Jing Chuchu suddenly interrupted her words. "Since I have chosen the Shen family, it is meaningless to talk about Gentleman's Sunday." As she spoke, she actually became somewhat sad. Shen Yuan and Jing Chuchu were not very warm with one another, and because of the matter before they were in a mutually hostile position. It was that due to such a time, upon comparison one would miss Sun Kainan's good points. Sun Kainan had an attractive appearance, was generous and treated her very gently and with great consideration. Thus one would be lying if one's heart was not moved. Moreover, one would always be obsessed with things that one would not be able to obtain. Thus Tao Yuan's words were like ants crawling all over Jing Chuchu's heart, making it itch. "Young lady." Tao Yuan hesitated for a moment. "There is no harm for young lady to meet up with Gentleman's Sunday. Gentleman's son will know of this matter but would not know of the inside story and might have misunderstood you. If this is explained then he would be pained with your misfortune. It is difficult for one to meet a good person like Gentleman's son, and if young lady do it that way, Gentleman's son would be very hurt." Tao Yuan said, "In the last meeting, Gentleman's son still mentioned of wanting to gift young lady that dragonfly hairpin." Hearing that, Jing Chuchu's gaze moved. The thing that Sun Kainan impressed her the most was the steady stream of gifts that was given. For Jing Chuchu, it was considered enough if she married to Shen Yuan, but if she was also able to make Sun Kainan obsessed with her, it would be a great satisfaction to her vanity. Seeming to be thinking about it for a long time, Jing Chuchu said with determination, "What you said made sense. I should explain it to him. But now young lady has an engagement with second young masters, so this matter cannot be seen by others." Tao Yuan said, "Why not let this servant handle it? This servant will find a place without anyone so that young lady can explain to Gentleman's son clearly, and it can be considered as not letting him down." Jing Chuchu nodded her head. Shen Yuan strode towards the courtyard and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. These few days he kept receiving strange looks from everyone. In fact, it was not that others were unable to see that Shen Yuan was schemed against, since it was not the first time the matter of one sleeping with some family's daughter when one drank too much had happened in the Ding capital. Be it intentionally or not, there were many of such things in recent years. What everyone was concerned with was that Shen Yuan, such a young talent, would actually fall into such shallow and direct schemes from those married women in the inner courtyard. In particular, this time it seemed that the Shen family's idiot was involved. Even though Fu Ziyu did not find any fault with him, but these days his attitude towards Shen Yuan had lightened a lot. It was very simple. Shen Yuan was Fu Ziyu's secretly developed confidant, but at the end of the day, Shen Yuan had to stand up in the light. But with such a stain, it would not look good on Fu Ziyu. For Fu Ziyu, who was one who strived for excellence, this mistake of Shen Yuan was annoying. Shen Yuan himself was also nursing grievance. After becoming a joke to others, he still had to marry Jing Chuchu, a good-looking but without any substantial ability female. Everyone knew that Jing Chuchu was an uncouth daughter of an insignificant family who only recognized money, and he had to marry such a female. Even if in the future some official's daughter took a liking to him, she would not marry him for fear of being ridiculed. He took a deep breath and stared at the oncoming person. Shen Miao was walking over from the garden with her two maids. These days she stayed in the western courtyard without leaving, and despite of the skies and earth turning upside down for the second household, she was also indifferent and instead seemed much more invigorated than before. Seeing Shen Yuan, she stopped and greeted, "Second older brother." Shen Yuan could not control himself as he clenched his fists. Ever since the matter with Jing Chuchu, he had not encountered Shen Miao at all. Naturally Shen Yuan knew that Shen Miao was the only person in the Shen residence that could do it, but in the beginning it had all the while been old Furen who was instructing others to make arrangements, so he could not be involved. And the more important thing than accountability was to appease the demanding Jing family's people. But thinking of how he had fallen into such straits, and it was all thanks to the young female in front, Shen Yuan could not wait to strangle Shen Miao. Seeing Shen Yuan not speaking, Shen Miao started to laugh herself. Speaking of which, second older brother and Biao older sister are engaged now, and I have yet to give my congratulations. Congratulations to second older brother for being able to bring the beauty back. Everyone could hear the ridicule in her words. Shen Yuan said coldly, many thanks to fifth younger sister. After pausing, he looked at Shen Miao again. Fifth younger sister have good abilities. Shen Miao accepted it. Every time she portrays an agreeably look, it would make one so angry that they could go mad. Shen Yuan sneered. Fifth younger sister, it is better for one to understand the logic that the wind would damage the flourishing trees in the forest. I have never think that I am the flourishing tree, and everyone know that I am an idiot. Shen Miao said lowly. It is however that second older brother is outstanding, and since the wind need urging, it would generally not be me, is it? Shen Yuan slowly retorted, do not fifth younger sister think that success is within the grasp? Do not you think that with me marrying Jing Chuchu, I would lose this round? How can it be? Shen Miao was very modest. I know that second older brother is all the while tenacious and have a high level of perseverance. These little small-scale things would definitely not even enter second older brother's eyes. It is still too early from the chess game to end. Perhaps it is not that early as you thought. Shen Yuan suddenly smiled strangely. Perhaps it will end very soon. The strange smile that was on his face made him look particularly shady. Jings and Gu Yu were frowning, but they saw Shen Miao raising her brows to ask, second older brother wants to scheme against me again? Are you afraid? Shen Miao nodded. I am not afraid of being schemed, but only fear that others will not scheme against me. Her eyes were so clear, reflecting a childlike innocence as she smiled. If others do not scheme against me, how would I have any opportunity? Then you better seek more blessings. Shen Yuan laughed coldly. One fear that when that day come, you would not be smiling that happy. Finishing speaking, he strode off. After he left, the smile on Shen Miao's face disappeared without a trace. When Jings and Gu Yu saw this, their hearts were in shock. Gu Yu questioned, young lady, is there anything inappropriate with second young master? Shen Miao shook her head. Shen Yuan was a person that if he had nothing up his sleeves, he would not have said those words. But what was it that he felt that would impact Shen Miao so much that he felt that she would not even have the opportunity to emancipate herself? Uneasiness started appearing in her heart, but she quickly forced it down. Shen Miao looked at Shen Yuan's back figure and softly said, it is still very early in the chess game, but the game will quickly end. In the Baoxianglu in the Ding capital, song and dances were all around as music spirals up, and the women's fragrance accompanied with laughter were the best seductive drugs that attracted frequent looks from passers-by. The gazes were filled with envy but embarrassed due to their shortage of money, since they were unable to perform the act of staking 1,000 pieces of gold on one throw. In a tea room in a small building, the tea that was placed on the table had long cooled off after an entire night. The person inside was taking a nap when he almost overturned the teapot. He was so shocked that his sleepiness flew away, and his foot reached out to caught the teapot from smashing with his toes before setting it back on the table. Mo King was secretly relieved. In this Baoxianglu, even the most unremarkable teacup was also made by a good artisan, and if it was broken, one would need to pay money. Even though Shen Miao gave him a lot of money, but the money was for him to look for a specific young lady, and there was no extra amount to use for such a thing. Applause was heard as the beauty on the bed looked at the scene coldly and said in a deadpan compliment, good martial arts skills. Really an eye-opener. Mo King looked away to not look at that female's bare shoulder. He became happy when he looked at the skies outside the window as the sun was coming up and the night was over, so he could relax for 3 more days. As he was thinking about this, a trace of relaxed joy appeared on his face as he stood up to leave. He was happy, but someone's fair face burst upon seeing his delighted expression. Before he stood up, Liu Ying sat opposite him and said, Gentleman Mo King looked at the other person without a single expression. Liu Ying looked at him from top to bottom to size him up. Mo King had come to Bao Xianglu and picked up young lady Liu Ying for more than a month, and would come over every 3 days. He gave the money very easily, but every time he picked Liu Ying, he would not do anything at all and just lean against the window and sit all night. In the beginning, Liu Ying thought that Mo King was playing some game, so she played along. Since young, she was taught by mamas that some guests have their own quirks, and thought that most likely Mo King was one of those quirky customers. But after a number of such instances, Liu Ying also felt strange. She tried to entice Mo King, and if that did not work, then she would make his eyes crave. But naturally he remained unmoved. Even though Mo King would be teased till his ears turned red, he would still put on a solemn and indifferent look. Apparently he was still a virgin, but Mo King's martial skills was high, thus Liu Ying was unable to get closer to him. She was always been held by men, and it was the first time to be driven away, and felt that her status was lowered, so she did not do any more unnecessary things. But every second day of every encounter with Mo King, even though she was relieved, she felt anger in her heart. She was not extremely dangerous or a fierce beast, so why was Mo King dodging her? If Gentleman Mo despised that Liu Ying's body is not clean, one can look for other young ladies in Bao Xianglu. Liu Ying's face turned cold and spoke like in a peak. Every day there will be new young ladies, and they are extremely clean. There are also many of them who are virgins. Gentleman Mo need not waste money here with me and arouse misunderstandings. Mo King felt embarrassed in his head and did not look at Liu Ying. The task that Shen Miao gave to him really made him sit with pins and needles. He would rather go on a night duty at the Shen residence's doors than come to this establishment. Seeing Mo King not speaking, Liu Ying was so angry that she fought back. Next time Gentleman Mo should not come. Liu Ying cannot afford to take Gentleman Mo's money. Do not wreck my hard-earned reputation by taking money and not do anything. As she was speaking, she turned her face over and no longer looked at Mo King. Mo King touched his nose and felt that no matter what he said, it would not help on the matter. After all, he had come here to do such a thing every 3 to 5 days. Not to mention Liu Ying. Even he himself felt that he was just like a fool. Bao Xianglu was not a place to drink tea, and in Liu Ying's eyes, it seemed that she too could not understand. Without saying anything, Mo King placed a tael of silver down before leaving through the door. After Mo King left, Liu Ying's maid came in to clear the spill and saw the unhappiness in Liu Ying's eyes, so she consoled, "Young lady must not get angry, be it right or left. Gentleman Mo always brought money every time." Seeing that silver on the table, Liu Ying's anger got bigger. This silver was given additionally to Liu Ying, which was not required to be shared with the mama. She turned her head and looked out of the window and said angrily, "Who cares about it?" Her gaze, however, landed on that person's figure outside the window. Mo King pushed away uncomfortably the young lady that threw herself over, and opened the doors and headed out to the streets. "Gentleman Mo is a good person," the maid murmured. "Who knows?" Liu Ying was about to retrieve her gaze back when she inadvertently swept her eyes to the corner of the streets. There was a person standing in the shadows that raised one's head to look up, and based on that gaze, it seemed to be directed at her. She was slightly surprised for a moment. Because the distance was too far, she was unable to see that person's appearance and could only see a green robe. Even though there was only a shadow, it was very stylish. "Oh." Liu Ying lightly shook the fan in her hands. "Could it be that I am becoming beautiful? Every one of their eyes look more satisfied at me. Young lady looks beautiful, so there are a lot of people who want to take a look at young lady," the maid sweetly said. Liu Ying pursed her lips. Really a weird person. And the window was covered with a wave of her hand. At the other end of the street, Mo King halted and stared frowningly at a green road at the corner. That person was looking right at Liu Ying's building, but Mo King's eyes moved. That green-robed male's face was very familiar. He remembered that there was once a time when he followed Shen Miao's horse carriage back to the residence, that he had seen that person once. From what Jing said before, that was Shen Miao's teacher in Guangwentang. Someone called Pei Lang,